Hello, Taurus, and welcome to your July reading. Now, if this message finds you, please trust that there's something here that your intuition wants you to hear. Remember, these are general readings, so take what resonates and leave the rest behind. As always, if you are enjoying these readings, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments which card speaks to you the most. So let's see what July has in store. So your main theme is justice, and Taurus, your month begins with justice, and this is a very powerful energy. July feels like a month where things begin balancing themselves out. So something that has felt unfair, confusing, unresolved may start actually finally making sense. Justice isn't about instant rewards or punishments, it's about the truth catching up. So some of you may receive important news involving paperwork, contracts, legal matters, or official decisions. And for others, this is far more personal. Someone who hasn't been honest may no longer be able to hide behind their half-truths. So Spirit is asking you to stay grounded and respond rather than react. The choices you make this month are going to carry long-term consequences, but because justice is here, your integrity becomes your greatest strength. Many of you have spent months wondering if your efforts are even being noticed, and justice says they have been. The scales are beginning to tip in your favor. There's also an invitation here to be honest with yourself. So if you've been carrying guilt, blame, or responsibility that doesn't truly belong to you, July helps you to release it. This feels like emotional karma being cleared so that you can move forward much lighter than before. Now we come to your hidden opportunity, and Taurus, this is beautiful. So the Lovers is about alignment before it's about romance. So for some of you, yes, this could absolutely represent love. Existing relationships may deepen through honest communication, while those who are single may find themselves crossing paths with somebody who feels genuinely aligned to their values, rather than simply being exciting in the moment. But there is another layer here. The Lovers often appears when you're being asked to choose between two different paths. So one path probably feels familiar, the other's going to feel more authentic. Justice is sitting beside this card, and it tells me that your heart already knows which direction feels right. So July simply gives you the courage to make that choice. Some partnerships, business opportunities, collaborations, or friendships could also become very important during the month of July. The people entering your life now may help shape your future in more meaningful ways. The opportunity isn't just finding the right people, it's becoming the version of yourself that naturally attracts them. And then your challenge this month is represented by the Emperor, and this tells me that July asks you to step fully into your own authority. So there may be situations where people expect you to give your power, compromise your boundaries, or let someone else make the decisions for you. The Emperor says it's time to stand tall. Some of you may be dealing with a strong-willed person, and this could be a boss, father figure, partner, or somebody who likes to control the situations. So rather than entering a power struggle with them, Spirit is encouraging you to remain calm, confident, and clear about what you will and won't accept. For others, this card points inwards. So have you been doubting yourself, waiting for permission, or putting everyone else's needs before your own? The Emperor reminds you that you already possess the wisdom to lead your own life. Structure, discipline, and consistency will serve you well throughout July. Interesting, justice, the Emperor together suggests that when you combine fairness with confidence, doors begin opening naturally. People start respecting your boundaries because you respect them first. And then your area of personal growth is the Ten of Pentacles, and this is one of the strongest abundance cards in the entire deck. So it isn't just about money, it's about building something that lasts. July encourages you to think beyond your immediate gratification and focus on your long-term future. So what you're creating today that your future self will thank you for. Some of you may be improving your finances, saving for something important, or investing in your home. Maybe you're even strengthening those family relationships. While others are beginning to realize that true wealth isn't only measured in bank accounts. It's found in stability, peace, supportive relationships, and creating a life that actually feels secure. Justice suggests you've worked incredibly hard to reach this point, and the Ten of Pentacles says those efforts are beginning to create lasting foundations. So Spirit reminds you not to underestimate how far you've already come. So Spirit's message for you this month comes through the Four of Pentacles, and this card gently asks, what are you holding on to because it feels safe? Sometimes this can represent finances, encouraging sensible budgeting and protecting what you've worked hard to build. But emotionally, it can represent old fears, outdated beliefs, or past disappointments that you've been quietly carrying for a lot longer than necessary. There's a wisdom in protecting your energy, but there's also a wisdom in knowing when it's safe to soften. Not everyone deserves access to you, but neither should fear prevent you from receiving new blessings. So Spirit asks you to find balance between security and openness. Protect your peace without building walls so high that opportunities can't find you. And then we move on to the Nine of Pentacles, and this is your unexpected influences. And this is a beautiful card. So it tells me that July may surprise you with just how capable and independent you truly are. So many of you receive recognition for your efforts, experience financial improvements, or you're simply going to reach a point where you realize you don't need outside validation anymore. This card radiates confidence. It says that you've been quietly growing behind the scenes, and now people begin noticing what you've built. There's also an energy of enjoying life more. So after periods of stress or uncertainty, July encourages you to slow down enough to appreciate your achievements. Celebrate those small wins because they're leading towards much bigger ones. What's especially striking is that the three of your 6 cards all relate to the Pentacles, which tells me this is a month strongly focused on stability, finances, career, home life, and personal values. It's about creating that lasting security. And when you combine that with Justice, the Emperor, and the Lovers, it feels like a month where the choices you make now don't just affect July. They're going to shape this next chapter of your life. So now we are going to clarify this reading with the other cards and see what else Spirit wants to be telling us today. So Justice is clarified by the Page of Wands, and I immediately feel like movement. The balance that we spoke about in part 1 isn't coming through standing still. It's arriving because somebody is finally taking action. So for many of you, this could be the news that you've been waiting for, an important message, a phone call, email, or opportunities that shift everything. The Page of Wands often arrives carrying exciting information, so don't be surprised if July suddenly becomes much busier than you expected. For others, Spirit is encouraging you to take the first steps instead of waiting for life to come to you. Justice says that you've earned the opportunities, and the Page of Wands says now go and claim it. So if you've been considering starting something new, applying for a job, launching a business, or returning to study, maybe even putting yourself back into the dating world, this card is saying that the timing is becoming much more favorable. Justice is bringing fairness, and the Page of Wands is bringing momentum. So together they suggest that July could become a month where life finally begins moving forward again. So this is probably the biggest surprise of the reading because the Lovers is clarified by the Ten of Swords. And at first glance, this may seem worrying, but it actually reveals something incredibly important. So for many of you, this isn't predicting a heartbreak. It's showing the ending of something that has been preventing real love, real happiness, or true alignment. So some of you are finally releasing a painful relationship pattern where others are walking away from situations where they weren't valued. So some of you may find that you're going to be healing from betrayal, rejection, or disappointments that have quietly shaped you and your decisions for years. So the Ten of Swords represents an ending that cannot continue, and once they're over, it's over. So the beautiful thing is that the Lovers came first, so Spirit isn't focusing on what you're losing, it's showing what becomes possible once you release what no longer belongs in your life. I think sometimes the hardest endings create the healthiest beginnings, and Spirit wants you to remember that. And then we move on to the Emperor, which is clarified by the Two of Swords, and this explains why standing in your power has been difficult. So some of you have been avoiding a decision because neither option feels particularly easy. You've been trying to keep the peace, hoping circumstances would decide for you. But Spirit gently says that the waiting period is coming to an end. The Two of Swords asks you to remove the blindfold. So there may be truths that you have sensed for quite some time but haven't wanted to fully acknowledge. And the thing is, this could relate to work, family, finances, or relationships. But the Emperor reminds you that leadership requires decisions. And not every choice feels comfortable, but avoiding the decision often creates more stress than making it. So July encourages you to trust your own judgment. You already know far more than you're giving yourself credit for. Then we have the Ten of Pentacles, and that's clarified by the High Priestess, and I absolutely love this combination. So this tells me that your future stability isn't being built on luck, it's being guided through intuition. Spirit wants you to trust those quiet feelings that you've been receiving. The answers you're searching aren't always coming from outside advice, they are already within you. And the High Priestess also suggests that some things are still unfolding behind the scenes. Not every opportunity has revealed itself yet, and not every person has shown their true intentions. Patience becomes a gift this month. So some of you may receive unexpected spiritual guidance through dreams, synchronicities, repeated numbers, or simply strong inner knowing that refuses to disappear. The High Priestess says, don't ignore your intuition. You already know where you're heading. Then we have the Four of Pentacles clarified by the Queen of Wands, and Spirit's guidance becomes even clearer with the Queen of Wands. So earlier we spoke about protecting yourself. Now Spirit says, don't become so protective that you hide your light. The Queen of Wands radiates confidence, warmth, creativity, and self-belief. She doesn't chase approval, she simply knows her worth. So some of you have been playing small because you're worried about what others might think. Spirit says it's time to stop shrinking yourself. So whether you're creating something, speaking your truth, starting a new venture, or simply allowing yourself to be seen, this Queen encourages confidence over fear. You don't need permission to become the person you're meant to be. So the Four of Pentacles asks you to loosen your grip. The Queen of Wands shows exactly what happens when you do. Your confidence begins attracting the opportunities that you have been waiting for. And this is your time, Taurus. This final clarification is fascinating. So the Nine of Pentacles speaks of abundance, and then the Five of Pentacles speaks of hardship. Together they tell a story of how far you've already come. I feel like some of you have experienced financial struggles, emotional isolations, disappointments, or periods where you generally wondered if things would ever improve. So Spirit wants you to remember those moments. Not to keep you there, but to remind you that you are no longer the same person as you once were. The Five of Pentacles does not define your future. It explains your resilience. So many of you are stepping out of that survival mode and into stability. So you may still occasionally worry that everything could disappear, but Spirit says not to let old fears convince you that your future has to look like your past. The abundance shown in the Nine of Pentacles has been earned, so you allow yourself to receive it. So the overall message here, Taurus, is this is a reading that tells a story of somebody standing at a crossroads between an old chapter and a new one. Justice says balance is returning. The Emperor tells you to stand in your power, and the Lover says choose what truly aligns with your heart. Then we have the Ten of Swords, which confirms that the ending is making space for something far healthier. The High Priestess, which reminds you to trust your intuition, even when you can't see the full picture yet. And then the Queen of Wands asks you to step confidently into your authentic self. At the end, we have the 5 and 9 of Pentacles together, which reminds you that your past struggles are not your future identity. So July feels like a month where you're closing one significant cycle and laying the foundations for something much more secure. Spirit keeps repeating one message throughout this whole entire reading, which is trust yourself. Your intuition is becoming a lot sharper and your confidence is growing. Your stability is strengthening, and although some decisions may not feel easy, they are leading towards the life that you've been trying to build. So, Taurus, thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Again, if this reading resonates with you, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments which card stood out to you the most. I truly appreciate every one of you, and I will see you again in the next reading. But until next time, take care of yourself and keep following your intuition. Lots of love and light, guys.